Welcome to the podcast, Rich Nadler. I am so happy that
Well,
you're here.
thank you. Coming from you, start over.
No, keep going.
Coming to you live from the Master Closet Studio in
Yeah,
Meridian, Idaho.
absolutely. So we want to
With
talk with you guys today. It's me and Rich, the very first guy, bro, on the podcast. We are here in our home, our new beautiful home in Meridian, Idaho. I'm in my office and Rich is in our closet surrounded by a hot mess express. We couldn't figure out how to put two microphones in the computer, so we're doing a Zoom call, like a legit interview. Anyways, it's been crazy. We're exhausted from moving. So much has happened, but we wanted to hop on here per request. I asked you guys on Instagram stories if you wanted us to hop on here and talk about this whole cross country move. So many of you guys followed us on this journey and have prayed for us and have cheered us on. And, I asked, do you want us to come on here and talk about the real nitty gritty, the good, the bad, the ugly, how this all got started, how we, manifested this house and just left behind everything that we've ever known and moved to a place where we know zero people. Zero people and are living our best life. And so Rich has so much, I feel like, to share on this because, for me being an entrepreneur, I can pretty much work from wherever, whenever. I can pick up and go. I create my own hours. I'm my own boss. But Rich left behind a job, a cushy job of just shy of 25 years. And it was scary for both of us to leave the place that we were born and raised and pretty much have lived our whole lives. And so we just wanted to sit down and open up about what this process has been like for us and why Idaho and why now and all the emotions that we've experienced and what we've gone through. Each of us have gone through different things in different phases. So we want to bring you guys into this journey with us and unpack some things. And we're just going to kind of tell this story and hope that you guys can feel inspired and motivated by hearing each of our stories and how we've gone through this process so that you can chase your own dreams. You can do whatever the scary thing is for you. So, Rich, okay, so take us back, love. Tell everyone when they say, because here's the first thing that people tell us, like when we're like, oh, we're moving to Idaho. They're like, why Idaho? What the heck is in Idaho?
is in Idaho
What
other
is in
than
Idaho?
potatoes
Yeah, potatoes. So tell
and
everybody.
that blue football field?
Yeah.
Can't watch it. Can't watch it. So, let me just say that I'm honored to be here and to be pioneering the way for future bros to be on your show. Appreciate that.
Future bros.
Future bros. And it's just great. So we've been here for 2 weeks today, and we're still recuperating from 42 hours of driving, 3 14-hour days. So that's why we're having coffee at noon.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, but tell everybody what that means, because there may be first-time listeners that have no idea. What do we do? Me, you, in a Jeep, two 60-pound dogs, and a U-Haul, Jeep Wrangler at that. 3 days, drove across the country.
Yeah. So basically everyone was sedated in the Jeep but me. The dogs were on meds. You and the dogs did a lot of sleeping, and I did a lot of driving. I drove for 14 hours a day for 3 days in a row. And we saw some beautiful country. We came up through Dallas, Amarillo, up to Colorado, across Wyoming.
Which, by the way, Wyoming, wow.
Crazy
town.
Wind blowing 100 miles an hour.
And
blowing us all over the road, trying to drive a Jeep Wrangler, pulling a U-Haul. White knuckled the whole way.
Yeah, which I was totally unaware of. You did not tell me that you were freaking out. I'm listening to music.
I didn't want to wake you up.
I was awake during all of that. But yeah, guys, so it's been it has been an experience. And we've just been processing all of the emotions and trying to settle in. But tell everybody, why Idaho though? So when people ask why would you want to move to Idaho? Why would you want to leave behind your
So,
family, your job, all of the things that you had, all the security, the comfort, and move to random Idaho? Unpack that story for everybody, Rich.
well, yeah, why Idaho? We never even considered Idaho. We honeymooned in Lake Tahoe 10 years ago, and we loved it. It's in California. Uh, it's a beautiful place. We just love. We've been back several times since then, and have always, since that time, wanted to live in a place that has mountains, that has outdoor recreation. So, we've been talking for 10 years about moving to Lake Tahoe, right?
Yeah, and it's
Or a
like,
place similar to that.
yeah, I mean, and the
And
guys, and it's like one thing that happened with us too is like every time we would go on vacation, every time we would take a little trip, we would be like, we need to move here. We need to move. Like we've just wanted to get out of this small town Bible Belt place, and I'm not going to come on here and I'm not trying to talk down about where we're from, but we wanted something different. We just wanted to change, and that's something that's been planted in our heart for a long time. But like what I'm trying to say is like when every time you go on vacation, you're going, we should move. That's a problem.
yeah, yeah. So, we love Tahoe. We've been talking for 10 years about moving to Tahoe. And a little over a year ago, someone suggested that we check out what was known at the time as Boise, Idaho. We've
Yep.
since learned that there's no Z in
Nosy.
Boise.
It is
It's
Boise.
BOY hyphen SEE, Boise,
Boise. Boise.
Boise, Idaho. So,
Boise. And actually,
um,
funny story. I don't even know if I've told you this, love, but do you want it like the real story of how someone mentioned Idaho? So my friend Brandy went and got a facial
mhm,
in town where we're from a woman who is from here, who is from Meridian, and she has family in Louisiana. And
really?
she is the original one that told Brandy about how great this place is. So Brandy goes and gets
Well,
a facial and then comes and tells us about it. And guess who is scheduled to get a facial with that woman next week? Your girl right here. Isn't that
well,
crazy?
can you give her a big hug and kiss from
Yes,
me
I will.
and tell
This is all
her,
your fault.
yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, it all comes back to her. She's the reason I'm sitting in a closet in Meridian, Idaho, doing
Correct.
this interview. Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? I haven't even told you that yet. Um,
No.
so
So Brandy suggests uh, we check out Boise, Idaho.
And guys, the
So
reason why too is like because I'm sure people are going like, well, why didn't you just move to Lake Tahoe? Okay, so if you don't know, the cost of living in Lake Tahoe is number one outrageous. It's not. It's a resort town. It's a vacation town.
it's a destination.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
typically
a
a place you have a vacation home, and that still is our goal, down the road is to have a vacation home there, an Airbnb, some property. But I think it's important that when you're chasing your dreams, you can at least take small steps towards where you want to be on your journey. So Idaho is or where we are is like 7 hours from Lake Tahoe. So it's an easy drive. It's closer. Like we're getting closer towards that. And um, just for work purposes, like if you're going to go live in Lake Tahoe and also work, like it's just not super practical. Like you're going to drive probably 2 hours every day and, a commute. Like it's not a place really that you live full time. It's more of a vacation place. So
right, right. So Brandy suggests we check out Boise, Idaho. So a year ago, exactly to this weekend, it was Labor Day weekend,
yeah.
we came up last year and spent 5 or 6 days, rented an Airbnb and came up and had the only purpose for that trip was to come up and do recon. Like, do we want to live here? Let's go check this place out. So, we got here and we're like, wow, it's beautiful. We got mountains, we've got lakes, we've got, the weather is awesome. Zero humidity. Well, not zero, maybe, 12%. So,
No bugs.
no bugs, no mosquitoes. It's just gorgeous. So that's when we started considering moving here. And, one of the things that I did on that trip was I did some recon downtown. I saw construction sites, commercial construction sites. I went around and took pictures of the project sites, got the company names, email addresses, or website addresses, phone numbers. And, when we got back home, I reached out, sent some resumes out and got some responses back. And, that was scary. I remember we were up here Labor Day. So, September. So we got back home and got the resume updated. Now, remember, I've been at the same job for almost 25 years. 24 and a half years, 6 months away from a quarter of a century. I've been yeah.
It sounds crazy when you say it like that. I've been at this job for a quarter of a century. Like, who
says that? Wow.
You do.
Well, the impact that has.
Yeah.
So, I was comfortable there, was at an executive level, and, I could have coasted on for another 20, 25 years.
But let's unpack that for a minute, because I feel like there's a lot of listeners that are probably in a 9-to-5, or they may be in a career where they've been doing the same thing for a really long time, and they are afraid to admit that they want something new, that they're not being challenged anymore, that job is not, kind of lighting them up. And so speak into that. I mean, you were really at a place where you were wanting a challenge, and you were aware that comfort, like, really was becoming your enemy. Like, you had to give up good to get to great to a certain degree. Right. So kind of like unpack some of that fear.
So, yeah, I was definitely at a place of, comfort and security, but almost resentful. Well, not almost resentful, resentful at that fact. I had a great job, worked with great people, but I felt like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. Same thing over and over and over and over. And I wanted something more, but I was fearful of change. I mean, when you do something for 25 years, you get in a routine, it's comfortable, you know what to expect, what's coming down the road. And yeah, it was scary. And I guess I was resentful at myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I wanted a challenge. I wanted to take a risk, but it was just fearful because I didn't want to give up, the comfort level that that we had.
Absolutely. And I want to back up for just a minute too, because, part of this, what we're going to talk about in this episode is manifesting. People use that term a lot, or like, what does it look like to chase your dreams? And I think there's some like principles, and I think there's some heart states that you have to have going into something like this. You hear a lot like how you leave one place is kind of how you enter another, or you take you with you wherever you go. So I think that you kind of had to we had to get to a place where our hearts were in the right place, where we were at peace with some things, if that makes sense at all. Like, before we left, we went by like each of our old homes and just like blessed and released, and just things that we needed to make peace with and be grateful for and be thankful for. And I think that you had come to this place where it's interesting. There's this dynamic of where you've had enough like you've come to the point where you're like, I'm ready for something different. I've had enough. Like some people will call that your day of disgust, but I don't really agree with that because you can't approach life from that place and have long-term results. You have to stay in a place of gratitude. So I think you were really in this place of, I'm ready to do something. And also, I'm grateful at the same time. And hey, like we weren't trying to force anything, if that makes sense.
Right.
I mean, do you remember that when we came up here and we were like, yeah, I mean, we weren't like, okay, this is it. This is like,
Right.
we're
Right.
going to make this happen. We were just like, hey, we know we're ready for a change and we're going to move somewhere different within the next 5 years. Let's just see what this is
Yeah.
all about. Let's just do some research and just kind of have fun. And I just remember you being like, okay, like trying to like want in Enneagram one it up and get all this certainty. Even when we came up here, I was like, babe, just dream. Just throw some
Yeah.
resumes out there and see what happens. You never know.
Yeah. 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 So, that's what we did. And we were at a point in life where we're empty nesters, kids are gone, living all over the world. So, the dynamic had changed and we had some freedom. You can work from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection, so, I mean, I was the one that, was pretty much chained to my desk, and I was the one that had to make some, not that you didn't have any big decisions to make, but that I was fearful of that change.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got home, it was the holiday season, and I was procrastinating, and you were kind of asking me, hey, have you got those resumes out yet? Yeah. I'm going to do that. Let's get through Thanksgiving. And then it was, let's get through Christmas and whatever, so, but,
and talk about that for a minute though. Let's unpack that. Let's unpack the procrastinating deal, because procrastination is always just a symptom of fear at the end of the day. A lot of people think it's being lazy or avoidance. Well, like all of that is just a symptom of the underlying disease, which is fear. And I just remember us, like we would go on date nights. I felt like we had the same conversation for like 6 months. Like I finally am like, I cannot have this conversation anymore with you. Like I can't do it. Like either like take action or don't talk to me about it. But like you had this limiting belief, then maybe like unpack that for people. Like, why were you procrastinating? I just remember you had this limiting belief of, well, I'm not going to be able to get a job that matches me like my current job. Like what in the world? Why not? Why would we believe that?
I think that's just an excuse, and it all comes back, like you said, to being fearful. And, I was fearful of change, and I was, that was an excuse. Well, I'm never going to be able to find a job as good as I have now, make the money that I'm making now. And
it's like, that is
how
so
crazy is that?
It's like, okay, so
360 degrees of opportunity, everybody. Okay.
So you're telling me like there's not one company in the whole country or outside of it that would pay you what you earn or more than what you earn. How crazy is that?
Wow. And here I am at a company that is just as great, if not greater.
Yep.
Making more and living in a beautiful place. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, like you said, a limiting belief and being fearful and, just the procrastination of sending those resumes out. Because I knew that once they went out.
Yeah, the finality of that.
You can't put the bullet back in the gun, right? It's out there. Of course, even after that, we said, well, let's just see. I mean, if you get an offer, you don't have to say yes. You don't have to accept it. You can always say no.
Yeah.
So still holding on to that to that, the comfort level, and
Mm-hmm.
holding on to certainty. So yeah, so we sent resumes out, and I immediately started getting responses. And so it was, just after Christmas, early January, I started, flying up here for interviews, and made three or four
Mm-hmm.
trips up here.
Yep.
Interviewed with two companies and had follow-up interviews. And so that was January, February. So then I got an offer, and we did some negotiations, and got to a really good place where I was going to have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I was faced with making a decision, and again, that was scary.
Yeah.
Even though I'm looking at a piece of paper with with an offer that is better than what was my current position. And I was like, can I say, oh shit?
Yeah. You
I
can.
got to make a decision. I got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And, I just remember that was hard.
Mm.
Because the company I was with, I've been there for 25 years.
Like your
Those
family.
people were like family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tough decision, but once I made the decision to do it, it was freeing.
Yeah.
I still had to, when I went and I sat down with Clint, and he
Which
knew,
is your boss.
yeah, he was the CEO, or is the CEO, and he and I had worked, belt buckle to belt buckle for 25 years. I mean,
It's a lot of history.
he was a good friend,
Mm-hmm.
and is a good friend. And, I said, when I called him and I said, hey, what are you doing after work today? Let's get together. I need to talk to you. So, sat down, and, when we sat down, he immediately looked at me, and he knew, I mean, and, his eyes were misty, and, we had a great
Y'all
conversation,
both
and
cried.
yeah. I mean, it was emotional, but he understood, and I left there in a good place.
Yeah.
And, but
And that's
after
so
that
important.
conversation, it was so freeing. After
Yes.
that,
Yes.
after finally making the decision.
Man, that's so important. There's so many lessons in that. I hope that, that if you're listening to this and this is resonating with you, when you are about to pivot, I talk a lot about the power of the pivot, the power of going for it and chasing your dreams. But like, there are little bitty steps along the way. There's processes to this. Maybe I should write a book about this. I don't know. Like the standard things that are going to happen when you go about the business of a major life change, of risking, of saying, yes to adventure and the unknown and blessing and releasing. Like, you're going to have hard conversations. You're going to have to come to terms with people and places and things that you maybe have been avoiding, but like this conversation with you and your CEO with Clint, like that is a conversation that so many people, and especially women, I feel like shy away from out of this loyalty thing, or they stay. And I'm not saying this is a situation with you, but sometimes people can stay in situations way longer than they need to, than they should have, because they're so deathly afraid of this hard conversation. They think, well, this person's going to be mad at me. This person will never speak to me again, or, our relationship will be ruined. And it's like, I always say, and I think I remember telling you this, that like, hey, if Clint's really your friend and really cares about you, he's going to want what's best for you. And he's going to know that he's going to be supportive of you.
Oh yeah. He was
Moving
very
on.
supportive and encouraging, you know, um, yeah, he was disappointed to see me go, but he was, yeah, really, really supportive and really encouraging, and was excited for me.
Yeah.
And
And everybody was so receptive. Like it was great. Like I just remember you having all of this fear and like feeling like, oh my gosh, and everyone was like, oh man, like this is going to be great for you guys. Like you were 100% supported.
yep,
And it's like all of those fears were just lies trying to keep you stuck.
right, right, and you hit it right on the head when you said there's an element of loyalty that you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're loyal to these people, you're loyal to this company, and that you've got to stay. So that there was an element
And I
of
think
that.
too, you being an Enneagram 1, your driving force is always to do the right thing, to do what's right. And I think that a lot of us have been conditioned, and especially older generations, and you being an older gentleman. The older generation, you were taught, hey, go to college and get a job, and you stay at the same job for 50 years and get
Yeah,
retirement, and
yeah,
it's like, so that has changed. That dynamic has changed in our culture and our society. And even when you were interviewing with these different companies, they're like, you stayed at
wow,
the same job for almost 25 years. What the heck is going on? Like, we can't
yeah,
get people to stick around for more than 5.
yeah. That's the workforce today. Um, you know, uh, 5, 6, 7 years. They're on to something else. So yeah, I mean the people that I interviewed with were like really shocked that I was even considering going somewhere else after being in a place for
Mm-hmm.
25 years. They're like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
So yeah, things have changed.
Yeah. And so I just remember you feeling so free and so excited. And you get on a plane, you leave me, at home to sell our house and get our life, get everything wrapped up. And you go and you start work. Like tell everybody like you resigned on a Friday, you flew out on a Saturday. Like tell everybody how that went down.
Yeah, yeah. So it was Good Friday is when I cleaned out my desk and packed up and moved out. And then Saturday I was on a plane, flew up here and made an offer on this house
On
on
Sunday.
Easter Sunday. Found a realtor gracious enough to come out and work
And by the
Sunday.
way, let's shout out the best real estate agent there ever was. My
Yes.
girl Arrow, we toast to you. We could not have done this without Arrow. I'm going to put a link to her Instagram, her website. She is by far, like, she's an angel sent from heaven. When we did the
Absolutely.
recon work, like, she has been with us through this whole process. And oh my gosh, like, she's like been our lifeline.
Yeah.
So much more than a real estate agent.
Yeah. So, yeah, I came and looked at the house on Easter Sunday, made an offer, wrote up an offer, and submitted it. And I think it was accepted the following day on Monday. So, let's see. After that, I mean, gosh, it's just been a whirlwind.
And
So
so then
I came back
offer.
home, came back home, and
So you visited home a couple of times, but we bought this house, but you couldn't move in this house until like for a couple of weeks because it was on
well, we didn't.
actually it was on the Parade of Homes um, schedule. And so your company here moved you into, talk about that dynamic. Okay. I want you to bring everybody into, you've taken the leap, you've bought a house, you
Yeah. So
now you're
flew
starting
up here
completely new.
Easter, made an offer on the house, came back home, uh, flew back up here on or flew into Salt Lake City, where the company is based out of, to do my onboarding. That was on May 5th, and couldn't move into this house because we hadn't closed on it. It was in the parade of homes, so there was all sorts of activity. So long story short, couldn't move here. So on May 6th, I drove from Salt Lake City up to Boise to start my job, and for the next 3 weeks was in an extended stay hotel.
It's a very fine establishment.
Oh yeah, it was in a little kind of a sketchy part of town. So yeah, that was interesting. So
so tell everyone about, like, because this is so normal. Okay, I want everyone to understand this, that when you say yes to adventure and you ask for a challenge, God will give you what you asked for. Okay.
right,
So when you have like done it, you've done it. Like you've stepped, you are neck up in the river. Okay. Like you've gotten in, you've jumped in. And then there for a minute, you're going to feel like you're drowning. And that is totally normal, everyone. When you
yeah,
chase your
so
dreams and you take the leap, there are going to be moments where you're going to go, holy crap, what have I done?
yeah,
What have I done
yeah.
here?
So it was like an emotional roller coaster. The whole everything leading up to making the decision. Then once I made the decision, it's like, wow, this is really happening. This is exciting. I'm traveling back and forth. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
the new place. I don't know anybody. I don't know anything about this company. I don't know anything about this project. Huge, huge, huge project. Just overwhelming, just in and of itself. And when you add in a new company, not knowing anybody in the company, not knowing policies and procedures. I mean, it's just a lot of
Yeah. So
new, a lot
let
of
me just
overwhelming.
let me break this down for everybody, okay? So you start a brand new job, and not only a brand new job, you are the leader of a brand new team of the biggest job you've ever done in your life, to the scale of how many square feet, what's the numbers on it? Like
Well,
it's a huge job.
yeah, it's close to $1 billion. It's 850 to 900 million dollars.
Yes. Okay. In a totally new company, in a totally new state, you've had a major life change, and now you're at the Sketchville Extended Hotel. Hotel.
Okay.
Hotel.
Yeah.
And you basically are in a fetal. You're like, I'm in a fetal position, about to just lose my
So
mind.
yeah, I mean, going through the onboarding process, man, everything's exciting. Everything, meeting all these new people, and then we get back to the extended stay hotel, and I'm in bed at night, and I'm thinking, it's starting to set in. Like, what have I done? I'm in this, sketchy hotel. Um, nothing is familiar. I've left everything behind. Of comfort, and security. What have I done? So yeah, literally, there were 2 or 3 nights there where I was considering, just saying, "Hey, I made the wrong decision. I'm going back home. I'm going back to what I know, and this is too much." It was exciting, and then when reality started to set in, it was overwhelming
Yeah. And
and
by the way,
scary.
everyone, Rich did not communicate any of that to me. I had no idea. I mean, I knew he was kind of like, you know, overwhelmed a touch, but he was like, yeah, I mean, it's overwhelming, but like, I mean, he did not communicate any of those thoughts to me at all. So like we would FaceTime at night, and how you doing? Like he never once told me, not until months later, that, hey, yeah, I thought I'd made the wrong decision.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about that. Think about how many times in life you are excited about making a change, and you make that change, and then you go, what have I done?
Mm-hmm.
I, this is too much. I'm turning back. You know, I can't do it. I can't
Yeah.
do it. I'm turning back to what I know, to what's comfortable, to what's familiar, and I was to that point and was seriously considering that. But had I done that and not came through that and arrived to where we are now on the other
Yeah.
side, all the opportunity and the excitement and um, you know the fear is gone.
Mm.
It's like, hey, I was considering turning back, and where would I be had I done that? I've
Yeah.
been right back in the same
Mm-hmm.
position, just being resentful, and you know we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be
Exactly.
enjoying this and just experiencing new things and great things, and um, you know it's just
Yeah. So
it
tell
was
everybody about what got you through that fear. Like what are some things did you just say like okay, I'm just going to like one day at a time, I'm just going to give it another day? Like was it, words that were spoken over you or implanted in your heart? Was it a vision? Because I think there's a lot of people probably listening right now that are like, yeah, I'm there. Like I'm in the oh shit, what did I just do? Or I'm doubting, and I think it's okay if you're like to understand that you're going to have moments of doubt. You're going to have moments of was this the right thing? But you have to go back to the reason your why in the first place. So what got you over that 3 day I'm in the fetal position? Huh.
well, it's kind of funny, but I thought about it like I was off at war. I was away from you.
Yeah. I
I
remember
was
that.
I
Oh,
was
I
away from
remember
you
that. Oh,
and away from everything that I knew. And the only thing I could think of was I thought about my grandfather in World War II. And I'm like, he was away for years from his family, from everything that he knew. And he's in Germany, he's in North Africa, he's all over the world
hmm.
fighting in this war. If he can
This
do
is not a
that,
big deal.
if he can do that, I can tough this out.
This
I
is
can
not.
I can
This is
tough it
not a
out.
thing. This is not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. I'm just going to take it, 1 hour at a time, 5 minutes at a time, and I'm going to, I'm going to overcome the fear.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just persistence, I guess you would say
Yeah, and I can
that,
remember you calling me and telling me that and being like, "Babe, it's like I'm in a bunker here at the extended stay. I'm like bunkered down. It's like I'm in war. I'm just, I'm like, sweetheart, you are not at war." Because I had no idea that you
that
were
was
like
the mentality I had to
going
take
through
just
all of
to,
this stuff.
just
I'm
to,
like, you're just starting a new job. You're at it's fine. You're like, no, like you were really struggling. So,
yeah, yeah. But
okay.
had we not persisted, we wouldn't be here on the other side enjoying, just all this, everything's new and exciting. Such a beautiful place,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage anyone who is in that fetal position,
Hmm.
thinking, "What have I done?" Just be encouraged to know, just push through that
Yeah.
because there's something great on the other side.
And that's a normal process. That's
Yeah,
totally normal. I think that each of us, like I've experienced that as well. For me, I don't think it really set in until, we're like packing up our stuff and in a, in the Jeep and our stuff's in a U-Haul for 3 days. I'm like, oh crap, this is
yeah,
real. Because it's kind of, for me, it's been this far away thing that's over here that might happen one day. And you've really been in the thick of it. We've been away from each other for like 4 months. And in this long distance relationship, we saw each other 3 times over the course of the summer while you're up here working and getting used to your new your new normal, and you've been sleeping on a twin size mattress in this house with no furniture. All of our furniture has been back in Louisiana. We've been trying to sell our house, which is still on the market. Prayers for that. If anybody wants to buy a house in Louisiana, we got you. We will make you a deal. And so, for me, it's kind of been this far away thing, but I've just been working head down, running the Passion and Profit Business Academy, creating, prepping, but it hasn't really like been a reality until.
Well, you had a lot of distractions. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, but once you got through all that and, you're packing up all of your possessions, you get in the Jeep, you're leaving your house behind. That's when it started to set in with you. And I guess it's just like a grieving process, right?
Yeah, it is.
What are the stages of
The stages of
grief?
grief are denial. So that could look like denial or avoidance, depression.
Or distraction, being
or
distracted,
distraction.
keeping yourself distracted with everything else.
Yeah, depression, anger, bargaining, and then acceptance. And so it's weird how the denial and the depression thing can show up. Like it's like you're sad, but you're also happy. Like you're grieving the loss or just like the closure, the end of a old season as you step into the new. Like it's a weird thing. Like going through a major life change. I'm so glad you brought that up. It does involve the grief cycle in a certain sense. Like it's a mixture of emotions. It's a swirling, thing. And I can remember like even like when we first got here, just being so physically exhausted, but then also just being, I mean, I feel like I'm just now 2 weeks here, like coming out of the emotional fog, the emotional funk that I was in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've already experienced all this. I'm 6 months behind you in my emotional process. And I'm like, what's wrong with me?
So we get here when we got here.
Yeah. What time?
Like the first week, I'm like trying to show you around and show you all these things we get to go and do and be adventurous and look over here, look over there. And I can remember you were just like almost zombified. Like one, I'm sure physical exhaustion had a lot to do with that. But two, I think you were also just grieving a little bit. Like, wow, we really did this. We're really in Idaho and everything else is 2,000 miles away. We've left everything behind, everything that all that familiarity, family, everything we've known for our entire lives is 2,000 miles away. And we're in this new place. Yeah. And you're just now kind of
coming alive again.
Enjoy that. Yeah.
Plus, when we got here, none of our stuff was here. Our stuff just got here like 2 days ago, and that's been a nightmare experience. We'll get to that in just a minute. But like me being an introvert and I'm a homebody, and that even not having that comfort and, us sleeping on a twin size mattress together, me, you, and the dogs for, 2 weeks, and just your life just being crazy. And it makes me I'm so thankful for my business. I'm so thankful for what I've created. I'm so thankful for entrepreneurship that I'm able to do that, that I was able to give myself a week to just be and to just decompress and to just like life. And you have to life proof your business, which is a podcast episode for another day. But yeah, I can even remember, it's like my friends, we have this Marco Polo thread, which is like a video texting app. And I couldn't even respond to anybody. Like I couldn't even really like communicate. I needed a minute to just be and to just process some stuff. They threw me, my friends are so amazing in Louisiana, and they threw me like at least 5 going away parties because we never knew when it was actually going to happen. And so it just kept throwing parties. And they threw me a birthday party and just spoke words of life over me. And honestly, like I've been hanging on to those words, and it's just the power of the prophetic. It's and if you guys aren't familiar with that term prophetic, it just means speaking things as though they are, and speaking encouragement to people. And for our birthday, one of the things that they do is everybody goes around the table and shares their favorite thing about you, and just kind of blesses you. And so I got to have that before I left, but I'm just like hanging on to those words, and just knowing that, and leaving behind our family, our grandbabies, and that relationship is through FaceTime now. But we're also going to be able to fly them up here during the summers too. And so it's just been it has been a whirlwind. And I think it's important just for everyone that's listening that when you go through a major life change, allow yourself space to be, allow yourself space to process. For me, I was like beating myself up. So I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, I should want to be like out exploring. I'm having FOMO. I want to go to this mountain. I want to go hike that trail. I want to oh my gosh, it's like stimulation overload of all the things. And so there's a part of me that's wanting to do all of that. And then there's this other part of me that's like, you need to literally just take a nap every day. So I think it's giving yourself permission, which has always been my struggle, to rest and to just be, is a huge, huge part of this.
Yeah.
Try not to cry.
Are you getting a little misty-eyed?
I feel like you're getting misty-eyed.
Oh.
It's making me miss. Oh no,
it's the lighting. It's the lighting.
It's the lighting. I'm a cyborg. You forgot. So, gosh, like what else has happened? So this has literally been a year-long process, but also like how fast can things happen when you just start taking action, and then you're grateful, you have gratitude, and you kind of release the outcomes, So let's transition into that. Let's segue into how this happened so quickly and the whole process of finding this house that we're in right now, which is like crazy. And, you basically manifested a job, that paid you, comparable and more. We've manifested a beautiful home. And I think it's all happened from, we're not trying to force anything. The timing was right. That's when like the timing was right. Doors have been opened. You don't have any expectations or like attachment to outcomes. So as in like, my world isn't going to be crushed if this thing doesn't happen. I'm good either way. And then I think a lesson that you and I are always learning is to stand in abundance and to ask. Like many times we have not because we ask not. So with this house, I've talked about it on Instagram stories, but the market here in Idaho is crazy. So tell them a little bit about like how the housing market is structured here, babe.
So when I was here with Arrow, the realtor, looking at the house, she said, and again, this was Easter Sunday. She said, if you're interested in this house, you should really make an offer on it today so we can get it submitted tomorrow, being Monday. She said the average days on market for new houses is like 13 days.
13 days.
13 days.
Compared to the house on the market in Louisiana, the average is 180 days.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Our house has been on the market since May. Anyway, we don't want to talk about that. So the builders, there's like a 2-year backlog on new construction, residential.
That's how quickly people are moving here. Like they cannot keep up with the amount of people that are moving here.
Yeah. When I moved into this house in May, this was the only house on this side of the street. I know you guys can't see the development and how our house is located, but this was the only house on this side of the street. Since then, there's been 7 houses. This is since May, right? May, June, July, August. So 3 or 4 months. There's 7 houses in addition to ours on this road. So that's just to
Outrageous.
give you an idea of, how the economy is just booming here. People are, moving in. There's all sorts of residential and commercial construction. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So what we're trying to say is like we had to make an offer quick in order to get the house that we wanted. Like we had to like take action. There wasn't any like messing around, guys. I'd never stepped foot in this house. Rich, I found it on Zillow. Rich FaceTimed me, but it was so crazy. And I've shared this story before about the house. So when we came up here a year ago, around Labor Day, we were like looking at all these houses, and I found this one house up in the hills that was so beautiful, and it was like the right square footage, and it was great. So I got a little brochure and brought that home, and I just put that in the back of my journal. And we went home, and again, no attachment to outcomes. So I'm not like, if I don't have this house, my life is over, and oh, this is the house. It's just like, oh, this is beautiful, this is cool. And so what I would do is, when we would talk about the trip, or I just kind of pull that little brochure out of the back of my journal, and we'd be having coffee together and say, if this was my house, I would have the stucco be white. I'd have black and wood accents. I love the way that this looks, but I would change these colors, and I would do this, 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 and this. And guys, and even there's other things about this house that Rich and I have always talked about wanting. Rich, you've always talked about wanting this giant industrial refrigerator. And that's exactly what this house has. The pavers that are in the front, I love that. I wanted to put that in our old house. So like there has been things that like we have the bathtub. Oh my gosh, guys, my bathtub is amazing. It's my favorite part of the day to take a bath. The giant shower, like it has everything that like we've wanted, the finishes. And we spoke that into existence. And so I can remember looking at this brochure and saying, I'd do this, this, and this. And the night before that you guys were going to go look at houses, I had like scoured Zillow and done all this research and found all these houses, but there was like this little nudge that was like, hey, check Zillow one more time. And so I checked Zillow, and this house had just been posted because I'm on there like a fiend. Like I've been like on it. And I'm like, hey, this looks cool. Like, go check this out. But it was in a different area than we had normally said. Like we had wanted to be, what's the area, babe, that we said we wanted to live in?
Harris Ranch?
Yeah, we had wanted to live in Harris Ranch,
yeah.
Which the price tag is about double if you want to live there. But it's closer to like
the foothills
and stuff like that. But the way that the housing is structured here, and especially over there, there's not a ton of yard space. We have 2 dogs. We have to have a yard, some type of yard. Like we can't live in a townhouse. We have to have some type of yard for them to be in. And so there's this thing how God always knows what you need. Like you can have this dream and say, I want this, this, and this, but like you have to surrender and you have to trust that what you're going to be given is what you need in that season. And this house, I sent it to you guys, and it was the last one that you saw.
And we almost didn't even come look at it because Arrow and I were looking at several other houses in a couple different subdivisions. And so we were just wrapping up, and she gets in her vehicle. I get in my vehicle, and we're leaving, and she stops and she says, hey, Lindsay just texted me this one last house. Let's go look at it.
Oh, Arrow, my girl Arrow, always on it, always on it.
Yeah. So followed her over here, and here we are.
And you like knew from like the second you walked in. Like tell everybody how you like made that decision. And typically guys, I was so proud of Rich because if you haven't noticed, Rich values certainty. That's his driving human need. And he is a 1 on the Enneagram. He's very diligent, very responsible. He's going to dot his I's and cross his T's. And he typically takes a little bit longer than I do to make a decision. He always says that he's the, what do you always say about us? The ready, fire, aim.
You're ready, fire, aim.
And you're the aim.
Ready, aim. Me, fire.
And then Lindsay
So
takes
yeah,
your gun and fires it for you.
yeah.
That's
So
more
yeah, I typically don't just walk into a house
saying,
and
"Hold
make an
on."
offer after FaceTiming you for a couple minutes. So yeah, I did that though.
Yeah.
Just
I
had to
mean, you
pull
walked
pull the
in
trigger.
and you were like, this is the one. You're like, this is it, babe. This is great. You saw the pantry and you saw the refrigerator
The
and the
refrigerator.
shower. And you're like, this is it. This is the one. And like, yeah, I can remember being at lunch with some dear friends of mine and, you FaceTiming and showing everybody, we were like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like this is amazing. So, but I think there's such a lesson in that because you were developing your decision making skills. And it's like, here's the thing that happens, guys, is that once you like build some stamina or like endurance, it's kind of like you're like you had to get good at making decisions.
Well, yeah, I'm looking for opportunities now to make snap decisions. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like
That one
once I
decision to take
made
the
that
lead.
decision,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's beginning to get easier and easier, to not have paralysis by
And
analysis, right?
overthink. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think it's because you've proven to yourself that I can make a decision and it'll be hard and tough, but I'm not afraid of that and I can get through it. So once you prove to yourself that you can do one thing, you gain momentum and you just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And I was so proud of you because I'm like, oh my gosh, like you are just like being so decisive and I love it because decision fatigue is real. And typically like I'm a very fast decision maker, but you can also you can get decision fatigue for sure, especially when you're making major decisions like what house are you going to live in. But like even like when I'm saying that, I think you and I have had this like major shift where we're like, eh, like it's just a
yeah. Hey, if it
house.
doesn't work out, we'll sell it.
Yeah, we're like,
You know?
it's just stuff. It's just, no big deal. You're like, if we want to move somewhere else, we'll move somewhere else. Like,
Yeah, we may pick up and move again in 6 months.
yeah, it's
You
like
know?
once you start, making and this can go the opposite way too. It's like once you give up, it gets easier to give up the next
Yeah, that's
time.
good. Yeah,
Once you quit, it's easier to quit. And so
right.
it's just the power of momentum. And yeah, so you bought this house and it didn't even register with me until maybe a month later when I pulled that brochure out again and then I looked at the house. I was like, holy crap, this is like the exact same house, but literally like the architecture and everything, but literally with everything that I said we wanted and
Yeah.
things that we said we wanted. And just going back to God knowing what you need or giving you what you need. So I can remember knowing what you need and giving it to you. So I can even remember when you were FaceTiming me and you were showing me this office, which I'm now sitting in. And I was like, oh, I don't really love that because I was so dead set on I want this big office. I want this like my office was like, I have to have an office with natural light. I have to have my office space as a primary concern in the home. And I can remember showing me like, oh, I don't really love that because it's smaller. It's off to the side of the kitchen. It's small. It's a smaller space. But now that I'm here, and something I didn't even think about is you want a smaller space for podcasting. So that's why you're in a closet and I'm in this office because it helps the sound. So it's like, God knows what you need. Like, no, you have your natural light. You got the window. This is the perfect size for you right now. And it really is. Like, it's perfect. It's cozy in here. I've got my window. It's the perfect size for a podcast studio. Like, everything is great. And I think you and I are just really embracing what we have is what we need right now in this
Yeah.
season. It's that juxtaposition of being totally grateful and then also dreaming and wanting at the same time. So we've also really embraced this minimalism mindset. So let's speak into that for just a minute.
So I don't want to get too deep into the moving experience that we had, which was just the worst experience ever.
Yeah,
I don't
that was
know how
bad.
many of you folks have done a long distance move, but this was our first experience and it was terrible.
Yeah.
But, we had a lot of things that were damaged. We, are still missing some things.
Yeah.
But I mean, our perspective has been, hey, if we don't have it, we didn't need it.
That's right.
If it's damaged, so what? It's
Wasn't for
just
me.
stuff. It's just
Yeah.
stuff,
Wasn't meant to have it. Yep.
you know? Um, yeah, I mean, the minimalist attitude that we've taken is, it's refreshing.
It feels so good, doesn't it?
It does.
And it's like and this has been such a huge lesson for us. Like we've been in this empty house, which again, this is like becoming the theme of this episode is God knows what you need. And there's a reason. Like, what did you say? You were like, there's a reason our stuff isn't here yet. Like always look for the lesson. Like life is happening for you, not to you. So always look for the lesson. Because remember I was saying, God, I'm ready for our stuff to get here. I want to feel comfortable. I want to be homey. I want to
Yeah.
nest. And I'm not getting to do that. And you're like,
And
baby,
then when it got here, we were like,
ugh.
all this stuff. I mean, and we got rid of so much stuff before we even packed up in Louisiana.
I can't even imagine. Can you
It's
even
like,
imagine
where
if we would have brought
is all
that?
this stuff? Where did it come from?
I don't know.
How do you accumulate so much? A lot of it's just junk.
It's disgusting.
I mean,
honestly.
we have a lot of things that are sentimental, family heirlooms, stuff like that. Obviously, that are important to us. But guys, we've had a lot of junk, and I'm so ready to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but what I was saying is like that week in an empty house, I think really shifted our perspective more towards minimalism. And you and I both realized like, hey, like we've been doing just fine, like with 3 dishes, this little $5 5-cup coffee pot on a twin size mattress with the dogs. Like we've been
Yeah,
fine. I didn't even miss anything because I didn't know that, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
We lived for over a week, with nothing,
yeah.
and wow, look, we made it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want all this stuff in here. Like, because the moving company, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to add to the resistance and all the crazy stuff with this moving company. But the moving company did not fulfill their contract. So they literally pulled up, took everything off the truck, put it in our garage. They did move in some of the heavy stuff into the house, but took the money and ran basically. So all of our stuff is in boxes, in the garage. And I'm like, it's a 3-car garage. It's a big garage and it's full of crap. And we're like, no way. Like,
Don't bring that in the house.
don't bring it in the house. Like we have so much, like so appreciated this clean slate, this minimal approach. And, one thing that we've been saying a lot is quality over quantity. We like, for example, I don't need 5 cutting boards. What's your favorite cutting board? Pick it. That's the one that stays. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't need 25 mixing bowls.
If you haven't used it in the past 2 months,
Get rid of it. Bless somebody else with it. Like, it's just me and you. I'm like, where did I don't understand. Like, you would have thought that we are people that like entertain constantly, that we have giant family gatherings at our house. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that's happened, but we're totally embracing a minimal mindset, quality versus quantity, keeping only things that we really love and that we really use, organizing things in a way like everything has its home. I've been reading I love the Home Edit Girls. Like I've just been kind of crazy. I'm probably driving you crazy with my organization skills, huh, babe?
We won't get into it here.
I'm like, everything has a home. Go find it. Go put it where it goes. So, yeah. So we're excited, and I would just say that just to wrap this up, because this has been a long episode, is to tell people that, chase your dreams, and you're going to have fear and doubt along the way. That's normal. Don't give into it. God knows what you need when you need it. Timing is everything, but don't wait around. Take action, make a decision. Like, what is the thing that you've been saying? I've heard you say this over and over again, like since we've been here. You're like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago?
Yeah. Well, you know, the timing, um, it is what it is. I think the doors will start to open when the timing is right for you. So don't, I would say don't push it. Don't force anything, just let
Mm-hmm.
it happen. I mean, like it happened with us, it was, kind of organic. We didn't force anything, and the doors just started to open. And I would just encourage people that, once the doors do start opening and you start making those decisions, and, reality sets in and you're like, wow, this is really happening. Just be persistent and push through the fears, because, once you arrive on the other side, I mean, there's so much out there waiting,
Mm-hmm.
waiting on you. So just be persistent, push through the fears.
Because it's worth it. And what I always say is, like, I want my life to be an example of what's possible. I want to be, I hope that I live my life so that at my funeral, people will say, she's the girl that went for it. She's the girl that always goes for it. And I don't want to be the person on my deathbed with regret of, well, what if I would have taken that leap? What if I would have, changed jobs? What if I would have moved across the country? What if I would have gone on that trip? So I would encourage you to look at the things that you are always complaining about. Look at the things that you want to be different, and don't buy into the limiting belief that things can't be different. I think for so long we stayed in a place because we had this limiting belief that, well, where are we going to find something that matches what we have now? Or there will be a trade-off, or we'll have to sacrifice this, that, and the other. And none of that has been true at all. So it's just amazing, the stories that we tell ourselves in order to cling to security and comfort. So I would just encourage you to go for it. Like, if you want a different job, go get a different job. There's timing, of course, and discernment. But if you want to live somewhere else, go live somewhere else. Like, chase your dreams and know that there's going to be a process in it. There's going to be mixed emotions. There's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I feel like just as much as we've had like things manifest and doors open and things happen smoothly, there's also been, resistance, crazy stories like with this, moving company. And then, we had a bunch of crazy paperwork stuff that we had to do with, getting this house. And, there's going to be little opportunities, little lessons for you to grow, and for you to ask the question, what am I supposed to be learning right now? Life is happening for you, not to you. So, anything else that you want to add, babe?
No, I like that. Life is happening for you, not to you. That really, think about that. Think about think about that. That's so true. It's happening for us right now, isn't it?
It is. It is happening for us. And guys, I also want to say this. Let's end on this. Man, we could just go on forever about this. We may need to like break this up into 2 episodes. But so here's another thing that I think you and I probably have both struggled with is what I was going to say is, don't be afraid to share your successes and your wins, because what I was just about to say was, guys, like, we haven't arrived. Like, we've still got a lot to do. We're still like dream chasing. Like, basically, we're not bragging. Like we're not trying to brag. We don't have everything together, that this is exciting. Does that make sense at all? But like, why do I feel the need to say that? Why do I feel the need to say, hey, we're not trying to brag. Like we're not trying to appear like we don't, like we're too successful or something. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a normal part that happens when good things happen in your life. You are hesitant to share it because you know that other people are in the middle of their walk, or you don't want to appear braggadocious, or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And it's like, no, like, why can't we just be excited? Like, why can't we
Yeah,
just
it's
be
just
authentic
excitement and be encouraging, you know.
about what you're doing? You know, this is our real life. We are fired up that we're getting to see a dream come true that we've been talking about and thinking about and going through for a really long time. And not everyone's going to understand it. Not everyone is going to get your goal. Not everyone is going to support what you're doing, you know. And I think we've had to deal with a lot of that, either where it's our own issues of not wanting to share, or maybe from family or other people, like, well, why, you know, where they're not, they're like, well, why are you doing that? Like, why would you leave? And why would you go there? You know, so speak into some of that. Like, what have you,
Well,
like, what did
I
you,
would say we're doing it because we can, because we want to. You know, we want to be adventurous, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we're just, you know, we're to a point in our lives where we can do that. We're not tethered to any one place. You know, so why not do it?
absolutely. But I think a lot of times people will, you know, their families won't support them, or they're expecting everyone to get it and support them before they take action. And that has not been the we've experienced some of that, but we're like, hey, we love you. You can come visit us, but we're chasing our dreams. We're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, guys. If you love this episode, this has been so fun. Sweetheart, I think you need to come on the podcast more.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
What do you
I'm
feel?
glad
Should we
to
start
be
our
here.
own
And
podcast?
yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's
Maybe
do it.
so. Maybe so. So, if you loved this episode of the podcast, guys, be sure that you screenshot it, share it on Instagram stories, tag me with it. I will share it as well. And guys, go right now, leave a review, leave a 5-star review. Those are life for the podcast. They help get it seen, and that you can still listen to it ad free. So those mean the world to us. We work very hard to produce this. A lot of time and effort goes into it. So if you can go and leave a review, that would be phenomenal. And we will see you on the next episode. Saying goodbye from Idaho,
Bye,
Lindsay Rich,
guys.
signing off.